What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how trucking changed my life, how it took me from pretty much being poor and broken to now owning a $1 million trucking business. If I were to sell that business today or try to sell it to somebody, I could get over $1 million for it, a little over $1 million for it. And I don't say that to brag. I don't say that to, to be arrogant or anything. I say that humbly, to be honest with you, because 7 years ago, before I got into trucking, I was nowhere near where I'm at today. And I'm going to talk about all of the things that had to change for me to get to this point. And yeah, so if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you for being here. If you're not new, I also appreciate you for being here. I would appreciate it if you would like the video, sub to the channel, stay tuned till the very end, because this is going to help people who are at a crossroad in their life and in their trucking career. And the reason I'm making this video is because I did get a comment from somebody on a previous video where they did say, I'm at a crossroad with my trucking career and I'm trying to reinvent myself. And that's what's inspiring me to make this video, is because I was in his position before I got into trucking. So I'm going to get into all that. It's not going to be really entirely about trucking though. It's going to be how I changed me and how that ended up impacting what I've been doing over the last 7 years. And so I hope you like the video, like I said, and I think it'll really help you out. If you're somebody that's on the fence about getting into this industry and or you're already in it and you're at a crossroads like this guy said, I really think this video will help you out. So yeah, I'm gonna get right into it. So for me personally, how I reinvented myself. Well, before I got into trucking 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, I was lost. I was not living right. I was not taking care of my health. I was not educating myself. I was not living right. And for me personally, I'm a Christian and I've always been a believer, but I have not always walked the walk of a believer. And you know, as a Christian, we are supposed to strive for perfection. We will never be perfect, but our goal is to strive to be perfect. And, you know, so before I got into trucking, like I said, I mean, I was drinking all the time. I mean, just abusing alcohol, not eating healthy, you know, hanging out with the wrong people, just had a negative, pessimistic view of the world. Again, I wasn't educating myself, meaning I wasn't taking my future seriously. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a long-term vision of where I wanted my life to go. How can you do that when you're poisoning yourself all the time with substances, you're hanging out with losers? How can you do that? How can you be successful when you can't think long-term, because you're just living for the moment? You're just living, you're just waking up and you're living life day to day with no direction. And you know why I'm starting out with this, because before I got into trucking, that's what I was doing. Yeah, I mean, I was working, I was being somewhat responsible, like paying bills, living on my own, all that, but I wasn't going nowhere. I wasn't having real success. And so what changed? What changed for me? Well, you know, I was kind of struggling financially before I got into trucking. I was struggling and I'm like, look, I need to have it. You know, I was married and I'm like, look, if I'm gonna, you know, if me and my wife are going to have kids and raise a family and all this stuff, I can't continue living like this. I got to change me, because there's no successful people, or very few that are successful, that damage their bodies all the time, that don't learn all the time. They're wasting their time watching junk. They're watching TV. You know, they're consuming garbage that isn't helping them out. And again, that's what I was doing. And so I reached a point in my life where I was really tired of where my life was going. I got fed up. Like, look, man, I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of not making a lot of money. I'm tired of my relationship with my wife being not a good one. We're arguing all the time and everything. And a lot of that stuff was my fault. Actually, I take the blame for all of it. And it's like, look, how can you expect your significant other, and also how can you expect the people that you're around to change when you don't change you? Because, you know, I used to hang out with these losers who would do the same stuff I was doing. And what do you expect? Look, water seeks its own level. So if you want to change who you're around in the company you keep, you got to change you first. You can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And I haven't talked a lot about this on my channel, but that is the truth. And, you know, I was no longer cool with hanging out with people like that. So I'm like, look, I got to change. You know, you claim to believe in Christ, you claim to be a Christian, but you're not living like it. So you got to change that, and the people around you will change. And that is true. So what I decided to do was like, look, okay, I need to change who I am. I need to drop the bad friends, drop the bad substances, drop the consuming of negative content and useless content. And you need to start educating yourself. You need to learn a skill and get into a real career, a long-term career path, and start to change your ways. And that's ultimately what has to happen. This person that said he's at a crossroads, I don't know how you live your life, and I'm not saying you're living bad like I was, but if you're going to change your life, you have to be fed up with your position you're in right now. You have to be tired of being in the bad position you're in. And you know, even if it's as simple as just being in debt, maybe you're just deeply in debt and you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you're tired of being in that situation. Whatever your situation is, you just got to get fed up with that situation, and then you can figure out, okay, I need to stop doing this, and this, and I need to do this, and this in order to make my reality what I want it to be. See, and what I wanted was like, you know, before I got into trucking, my reality, I wanted it to be, hey, I have a great marriage. Hey, I have kids that love me and they respect me, and I'm not a deadbeat dad. I don't want to drink alcohol anymore. I don't want to use substances that are destroying my body and my mind and my spirit. I want to make a lot of money. I want to have a lot of wealth. Why? So I can take care of my family, also in be giving to others, and just have freedom and have time to do things. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to, you know, become wealthy, not just financially, but all the way around. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be in shape and, you know, live a healthy life. So again, of course, all those things had to change. And what I'm going to get into the trucking part, but I'm talking about the personal stuff because that is what has to change first. You can't change you're not going to make more money if you don't change your outlook on life. You're not going to make more money if you don't change your outlook on the job you have, the career you're in, the industry you're in. You got to change you. You know, trucking ain't going to change. You got to change. You know, no industry is going to change. You have to change. You can have success in anything you put your mind to, but you're going to have to change your habits. You know, you're going to have to do that. And that's why I started off the video with this, because that's important. If you can't recognize that, look, nothing's going to get better for you. So moral of the story, before I got in, that's what I was doing. But I'm like, okay, I need to get into a career. And so I said, look, I'm changing all those habits. And I knew a little bit about trucking. I'm like, okay, you know, I can do trucking. I know I can do that. I can get my CDL. I can get my experience. I see what type of money I can make starting out, and I can work my way up. You know, I can make 6 figures a year if I get get enough experience and everything. I can make 6 figures as a company driver, and then I can eventually be an owner operator and yada, 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 all the stuff you can do in the industry. And, you know, I was very interested too at the time in investing in the stock market, right? I wanted to build a big portfolio in the stock market, and that was before I even got my CDL. But I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to invest a lot of money in that when you don't make a lot of money? if I don't make a lot of money, how am I going to invest in the stock market and actually make a difference? So I had to learn a skill to where I could invest a lot of money and still live my life and everything. So anyway, I got my CDL at Millis. Millis Transfer, based out of Wisconsin. That's where I started with them. Went through the CDL school, got my license, got my experience, drove for them for about 3.5 years. And and what did trucking do for me? How did it change my life when I got into it? Well, by being out on the road, it forced me to not be able to use the substances, because when you're a truck driver, you can't drink. Well, some people do drink on the road, but I was done with that. But what it did was it forced me to totally quit everything I was doing before trucking. It's like, look, you're on the road, man. If you're going to make real money in trucking, you've got to be disciplined. And so you can't be hungover every day driving a truck. You can, people do it. I mean, I don't know why y'all do that, but for me, I was done with it. And by being on the road and being in a career where, you have random drug tests, you can, all that stuff, it forced me to give up those habits. Also too, like when I got in this truck, I'm like, okay, I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to gain a bunch of weight by driving a truck. So I'm going to continue working out, because my entire life, when I was young, when I was a teenager, and growing up, I've been in sports. I played hockey, football, basketball, baseball, all the different sports. I've always been someone that worked out all the time. And so I wanted to bring that into whenever I became a truck driver. No, I'm not going to stop working out. I'm going to get a gym membership. I'm going to go to gyms when I can, or, I'll work out outside. I'll at least do body weight exercises and run. And, I kept doing that. When I got into trucking, I'm like, I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to find a way to stay in shape. I'm not going to eat bad. I'm going to eat the right, good, whole foods, and eat lean and everything, so I don't gain a bunch of weight and I stay in shape. And, that's what I did going into trucking as far as the health thing goes. But again, it was great that, hey, I don't have time. I'm on the road for 3-4 weeks at a time. I can't hang out with those losers anymore. I can't be at the bar. I can't be doing all those negative things that I was doing, because I'm out here on the road hauling freight. And so even though I was committed to not doing it anymore, trucking kept me away from that, so that after a year, 2 years, 3 years into it, I was totally over all that. I was had no interest in doing that ever again. That is one of the things that I really thank this industry for, this job for, is the fact that it removed me from those crowds. It removed me from the temptations of what I was doing. And I needed that. And, I will always be thankful to trucking for that. And, but when I started, like I said, I started off the video, how I got to $1 million trucking company. I've touched on this in the last few videos, but I want to drive it home that you have to change. You as a person have to change first before anything is going to change. All the other things are going to change, because all of those things are a symptom of what you are. If you're making a lot of money, that's a symptom of what you're doing. All the right habits you have that you're practicing, and that's just a symptom of it. That's just, a byproduct of that. And that's what you have to understand. So if you're at a crossroads, I don't know what bad habits you have. Only you know that. I don't know you personally, but you got to figure out, okay, what am I doing that's preventing me from getting ahead? What are the things that I'm doing as a person that are preventing me from getting ahead? Well, before I got into trucking, I'm like, I have a plan, man. I'm going to quit all this junk. I'm going to quit damaging my life, and I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to get into trucking. I'm going to save as much money as I can. I'm eventually going to buy my own truck, start my own fleet, and I know I'm going to need a lot of money to do that. So I'm going to get and stay out of debt. I'm going to have a ton of savings. I'm going to save very aggressively towards my goal. And that's what I did. And, and I'm also going to educate myself all the time. I didn't take school seriously when I was a kid. I didn't take high school seriously. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of that. I changed all that when I was, right before I got into trucking. I changed that mindset. I'm like, no, I need to get educated. If I'm going to start a business, I need to learn about business. I need to learn about investing and money and finance and all the things I talk about on this channel. I need to learn about that. So what I did was, when I started trucking, I got my license, all that, and every single day I would listen to an audiobook about business and finance and personal growth and all the different things I talk about. I would listen to that every single day. I can't tell you how many books I've listened to on these different subjects. I can't tell you. I honestly don't even know the number, because because you're driving 10 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day. I would, every single moment of every day I was driving, I was listening to educational content. That's what I was doing. How did I learn about the trucking industry? I didn't watch YouTubers about the trucking industry as far as the logistics and the actual nuts and bolts of the business. I was reading books or listening to books talking about the trucking industry, learning about transportation. That's what I was doing. And I did that while I was working. I was working, making as much money as I could as a driver. I was putting away 50-60% of my income, and I was constantly educating myself about business, about how to be better as a person, and about finance and all the different things, like I said. And that was a habit I changed. I didn't used to do that. I used to be just wasting my time watching useless crap on YouTube and movies and TV shows and all the junk that people do. I don't do that anymore. That's a habit I changed. And that what ended up happening is I got educated about things, and it's helped me get to this point. I had to change that. I had to change that those habits 100%. And so anyway, long story short, for 6 years I drove company. I saved 50-60% of my income. I was educating myself, like I said. And just recently, last year, I bought my first truck, drove for about 10 months, and then I decided to go all in on this business this year, and I'm up to 6 trucks now, paid off, 6 trucks, debt-free. And to those of you that think I'm lying, y'all are morons. I just want to say that in every video, and just keep watching me do better and better, because people like you, y'all are the same type of people that used to doubt me before I got into trucking and before I changed my life. And I don't really care what y'all think. And I love the fact that you're jealous of what I'm doing. But the reality is I do own 6 trucks, and they're leased on to Crete Carrier. I still drive one, and I've got 5 other drivers, and they're doing very well as well. And I'm very proud of that. Why am I proud of that? Because I know where I started before I got into trucking. I know where I was before I got into trucking. And you cannot believe where I'm at right now all you want to, but the reality is the reality. That's where I'm at, and I'm at where I'm at because I did change all those things, and I did do what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's for all the haters. But yeah, y'all are a bunch of morons. I just want to let y'all know that. And the more and more you talk bad about me, all you're doing is fueling the fire. That's all you're doing. You're just gonna keep hating, and you're just gonna keep seeing me succeed, and you're just gonna hate on that, and it's fine. I understand it, because you're insecure about your own situation and yourself. So that's me addressing all the people that have a problem with me. But anyway, if you're somebody trying to change your life, you got to have that mentality too, because people are going to doubt you. People are going to think you're crazy for wanting to change all these habits. They thought I was crazy. I used to tell people my goals. When I first started trucking, the first couple years, I'd be telling my family, my friends, like, hey, I'm going to start a trucking business. I'm going to own multiple trucks one day. They thought I was nuts. They're like, you're not going to do that. I mean, they would be like, oh yeah, that's great, but they didn't believe in me. Nobody believed in me. And you have to be okay with that too. You have to be okay with people doubting you. You have to be okay with people trying to drag you down. If you're going to do better in life, you just got to have tunnel vision and ignore Ignore the naysayers and the haters. You have to do that because most people aren't going to have real success. That's what changed my life, is changing my habits, changing my mentality about what people say, and just going for it, having a plan, having the discipline to achieve the plan, to follow the plan and stick with it and do the work, right? So yeah, that's what it is. But it changed my life because, again, it removed me from the toxic people and the toxic things I was doing. It removed that temptation. And like I said, I will always be forever grateful to this industry. No matter how much negative things there are in trucking, again, I can't tell you where I would be. I probably wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at if I didn't decide to choose this career. I 100%, I don't even want to think about where I would be at if I didn't decide to go into trucking, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying it's going to work out the way it did for me, for you. I'm not saying that. But moral of the story is, if you're going to have long-term success, and this is why I say stay tuned till the end of every video, because I like to drive the main point home for everybody that can apply to everybody at the end. If you're going to change your life, if you want to have success at anything, trucking or anything else, change your bad habits. What are those bad habits? And replace those bad habits with good ones. Then figure out, okay, I'm going to replace those bad habits with good ones. Then I need to create a plan for my career. If trucking is your career, what do I always say? Figure out what you want your niche to be. Do you want to do, what division do you want to work in? Do you want it to be local, regional, over the road? What do you want that to be? Do you want to eventually be an owner operator, start your own business, grow a fleet, whatever? Or do you want to use your money to invest in other things outside of trucking? Again, you got to come up with a plan, but you're not going to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve if you don't have the right habits. If you don't have the right mentality, you will not do that. If you don't have the discipline, you're not going to achieve the goals that you've laid out. You got to have the discipline. You have to, 100%. And so figure out what you want to do in trucking, then just be disciplined. Once you start making money, hey, if you're in debt, that's why you're living paycheck to paycheck, because you have so many payments to service, you have so much debt to service that you have no money to set aside. After you pay your bills and pay the debt, you've got no money to set aside. Why don't you make a lot of money in trucking? You don't make a lot of money in trucking because most of them are just lazy that don't make a lot of money. They don't want to run. They don't want to run. They don't want to manage their time right. They don't want to go above and beyond, work weekends. They don't want to do that. And if you don't have the work ethic, then honestly, there's no point in complaining. It's your fault. You're just lazy. I don't think most of you are lazy, but a lot of them that complain about trucking are just lazy. They don't want to run. They want to be home all the time. Well, you don't make any money sitting at home. You don't. Or they're not specialized. The ones that do want to work, like I tell you, find your niche, figure out where the money is. And where's the money in trucking, and where's the money in any industry? You do what most people don't want to do. It's that simple. Most people don't want to train. Most people don't want to get their endorsements and do something specialized, learn a skill outside of just driving. They don't want to do that. Oh, it's too much hassle. It's too much this. It's too much that. They don't want to do all that. And they make average to below average money. And then they try to tell people who are making six figures or more that they're lying. No, they're not lying. Those people making six figures or more had the discipline. They want to work, number one. Number two, they had the discipline and they had the right plan to learn a skill that would pay them more than the average Joe truck driver. That's the truth. And if you don't like that, then it is what it is. That's just the way it goes. But then, or if you want to own a business, that's another specialized skill. If you can learn about business and you learn about the specifics of the trucking business, you can have success doing that. If you want to use your great job from trucking to invest in real estate, well, look, if you're out of debt and you have $100,000 a year income or more, man, you can rack up a lot of money. You can save up for a down payment on a property, buy your first home, live in that for a couple years, and then while you live in that house, you could be racking up money for a down payment on your first rental and build a real estate portfolio. Or you can do what I did and save 25 to 50% of your income and build up a huge stock portfolio. There's so many different options in trucking. There is. That's how it changed my life. I wouldn't know what I know about business and know what I know about the trucking industry had I not been over the road with quiet time and time to listen to audiobooks. And when I was parked for the night, I was taking classes too. I took classes on accounting, and I took classes on marketing and sales, and I took a lot of classes on mathematics too. I didn't take my education seriously, like I said, before trucking. And that was probably the biggest thing for me, is just having that time alone and that time to really educate myself. And, I thank trucking again for that too. So the point of this video is for me to tell you what changed about me. I was at a crossroads in life, not trucking in particular. Trucking was my vehicle to get out of my bad situation. And you got to figure out how you're going to get out of your bad situation, whatever that may be. My entire life was a mess before this. Maybe yours isn't. Maybe you're not doing all that stuff, and you just need to change a couple habits to fix whatever's going on. But moral of the story, that's how trucking changed me. Is it provided me with the opportunity to end the video. It provided me with the opportunity to change me as a person, who I was, and then it also provided me with the opportunities of being able to have monetary success. And the only way I was going to have monetary success was to change me and my terrible habits and quit blaming everybody else in this industry for my problems and blame the man in the mirror, the person I'm looking at right now. That's what happened. That's how trucking changed my life. That's my video for today. God bless. I really appreciate each and every one of my subscribers. I really do. You are the reason, my supporters, you are the reason I continue to do this channel. I do not need this YouTube channel at all. But I'm inspired to do this YouTube channel because I want to change people's mindsets and their lives, because trucking, I believe, can be an amazing job for people to pull themselves out of a terrible situation and put themselves into a very, very, very good situation, just like I did. So God bless. Thank you for each and every one of you for watching my videos. I really appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for the next video, and peace out.